Welcome to Audiobook Shah, your go-to destination for powerful book summaries that transform your life, one chapter at a time. In this audiobook, we'll be diving deep into The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins, a game-changing guide that teaches you how to stop trying to control others and start living for yourself. We'll cover all 18 chapters of this book, giving you deep insights and real-life examples to help you understand exactly how to apply these lessons in your own life. Whether it's letting go of judgment, setting boundaries, or reclaiming your peace, you'll walk away with practical tools that truly work. So sit back, relax, and let's begin this powerful journey together. Chapter 1. Stop wasting your life. On things you can't control, if you've ever felt like you're drowning in stress, constantly falling behind, or stuck in a loop of trying to please everyone around you, this chapter was written for you. Mel Robbins opens the Let Them Theory with a hard-hitting truth. The problem isn't you, it's the power you're unknowingly handing over to other people. You may not even realize you're doing it, but every time you try to control how others see you, feel about you, or behave toward you, you're slowly chipping away at your own peace of mind. Mel is brutally honest about her own experience. She shares how she spent years bending herself into a pretzel, trying to meet other people's expectations. She thought that if she just worked a little harder, said the right things, kept the peace, or made everyone happy, then maybe, just maybe, she'd feel good about herself. But the outcome was always the same. She felt more exhausted, more disconnected, and more invisible than ever before. And that's the trap so many of us fall into. You try to manage your partner's disappointment, your co-worker's approval, your parents' judgments, or your friend's silence. You think, if I just do this right, maybe they won't be upset. Maybe they'll finally see me, maybe they'll stay. But no matter what you do, someone is still unhappy. Someone still criticizes you. Someone still doesn't get it. And meanwhile, you're the one left feeling like you're never enough. Mel's message is clear. It doesn't have to be this way. This chapter is about reclaiming your power, your energy, and your focus. It's about learning to stop wasting your life trying to control things that are not yours to control, especially other people's opinions, reactions, moods, or behavior. And that's where the Let Them Theory comes in. Mel introduces the most life-changing phrase she's ever discovered: let them. Just 2 words, but they shift everything. Let them be disappointed. Let them have their opinions. Let them misunderstand you. Let them talk. Let them leave. When you stop spending your life trying to fix how other people feel, you finally start living your own. To bring this concept to life, Mel gives us examples that are painfully relatable. Imagine this. You're at work and your colleague walks in with an attitude. In the past, you might try to cheer them up, avoid them, or spiral into thoughts like, "What did I do wrong?" But now, let them. Let them be grumpy. Let them be short with you. You don't need to take it personally. You focus on your work. You stay in your lane. You protect your energy. Or take the example of a family member, maybe your dad, who constantly comments on your life choices, your job, your partner, your parenting. He always has something to say. In the past, this would ruin your whole day. You'd argue, you'd second-guess yourself, but now, let him. Let him have his outdated opinions. Let him be critical. You don't need to argue or explain. His beliefs do not define your life. This is the first step toward emotional freedom, because here's what Mel wants you to know. People hold no power over you unless you give it to them. The way they act, what they say, how they feel, that's on them. Your happiness, that's on you. And when you learn to stop reacting to everyone else's behavior, you get your time, peace, and mental clarity back. Mel explains this shift using an ice cube metaphor that hits hard. Time with the people you love is like a melting ice cube. It's slowly disappearing. You can't stop the melting. You can't freeze the moment forever. The only thing you can do is be fully present while you have it. But how often do we ruin those fleeting, beautiful moments because we're worked up about something that doesn't even matter? One of the most powerful stories Mel shares in this chapter comes from a moment with her teenage son, Oakley, on the day of his high school prom. The whole lead-up was chaotic. He didn't plan anything, no dinner reservations, no clear idea of what was happening. Everything was last-minute, typical teenage boy behavior. Mel was frustrated, anxious, trying to manage every little detail. She even bought a corsage for his date, who had already made her own. She found herself trying to control the night instead of just letting it unfold. And then her daughter Kendall turned to her and said something that stopped her in her tracks. "Mum, if Oakley and his friends want to go to a taco bar for pre-prom, let them. Let them get soaked in the rain. Let them ruin their sneakers. It's their prom, not yours." That sentence hit like a lightning bolt. Mel realized she was making herself miserable trying to engineer the perfect night, trying to manage outcomes that didn't belong to her. And the moment she let go, everything got better. She handed Oakley $40 for tacos, wished him a great prom, and watched him run out the door into the rain. And she smiled. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't planned, but it was beautiful. That moment became a turning point. She started using let them in everyday life. The bakery sold out of bagels, let them. Oakley's annoyed about curfew, let him. The neighbour's dog won't stop barking, let it. These weren't just annoyances, they were training grounds for peace. Every time she said let them, she found herself detaching from drama. She stopped being triggered, and she got her brain space back. The lesson is this: you can't stop the rain, but you can stop standing in it. You can't prevent people from being who they are, but you can stop letting it ruin your mood, your day, or your life. By the end of this chapter, Mel invites readers to take a radical but necessary step. Stop making other people your problem. You're not responsible for how they feel, how they act, or how they perceive you. You're only responsible for what you do with your own time and energy. And that's the core of this chapter. Let them do what they're going to do. And you, let you choose peace. Chapter 2, let them plus, let me. In Chapter 1, Mel Robbins introduced us to the core idea of let them, a mindset shift that invites us to stop controlling what's out of our hands and reclaim our peace. But in Chapter 2, she completes the equation by adding the second half of the framework, let me. Together, these two phrases, let them and let me, form a balanced approach to relationships, boundaries, and self-worth. Mel makes it clear. Let them is about freedom, but let me is about responsibility and empowerment. If you only say let them and do nothing else, you risk disconnecting from your own agency. You might avoid discomfort, but you won't grow. That's why let me matters. It's the choice to act from a place of confidence and clarity, especially when things get hard. She introduces this concept with a vulnerable story, one that might feel uncomfortably familiar to many of us. Mel was on a girls' trip with 6 of her closest friends, or so she thought. On the final day of the trip, one of the women pulled her aside and shared that a few of the others were hurt by something Mel had said on the first night. They'd apparently been talking about it all weekend, just not to Mel. No one gave her a chance to explain or clarify. They just gossiped and stewed. Instantly, Mel was flooded with shame, self-doubt, and confusion. Her inner critic went wild. What did I say? Why didn't they just tell me what's wrong with me? She wanted to fix it. She wanted to make it right. She wanted to be included again. But as she processed the pain, She stumbled into a new way of thinking. She realized something deeply important. The issue wasn't just that they were talking behind her back. It was that she was centering their feelings above her own. She had to step back and ask, what do I need right now? And the answer was this: let them talk. Let them gossip. Let them misunderstand. But then came the second part. Let me choose how to respond. Let me decide what kind of friends I want. Let me take responsibility for the people I keep in my life. This was the birth of the full theory. Let them plus let me. Mel breaks it down this way. Let them is your mental filter. It creates space. It detaches you from the knee-jerk emotional reaction that wants to defend, explain, or fix things. But let me is your action step. It's where you decide what to do with that space. Will you keep chasing people who don't value you, or will you walk towards something healthier? She gives us this mantra: let them judge, let me rise above, let them ignore, let me focus, let them doubt, let me believe. The power of let me is that it shifts the conversation inward. You stop asking, why are they doing this? And start asking, what do I need right now? That's where the healing begins. Mel also shares that when you live only in let them, you risk becoming passive, detached, or even bitter. You might start avoiding conflict at the expense of your own voice. That's not what this theory is about. The let them theory isn't about silence. It's about choosing when and how to speak. It's not about letting people walk all over you. It's about knowing when to disengage and when to act from grounded clarity, not emotional chaos. Let her share what she thinks matters. That's her way of connecting. And just like that, the tension melted. Instead of reacting, she paused, smiled, and let it go. That's the power of let them in action. When you release your need to control how others behave, you automatically reduce your stress level, you reclaim your emotional bandwidth, and you stop taking things personally that were never about you in the first place. But Mel doesn't just leave it there. She dives into why this works on a psychological level. It turns out that your brain has a built-in alarm system called the amygdala. It's designed to keep you safe by scanning for threats. But the modern brain often misinterprets minor irritations, like being cut off in traffic, as actual threats. That's why your heart races, your jaw clenches, and your stress spikes. The solution? Don't let your amygdala run the show. Let them cut you off. Let them forget to say thank you. Let them not text back. You're still safe. You're still in control. You're still okay. Mel makes an important distinction here. Letting someone be annoying doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wise. You're choosing peace over pettiness. You're choosing energy over ego. You're picking your battles, and most of them aren't even worth a second thought. Let's look at a few examples she offers, and maybe you'll recognize yourself in one of them. Example 1. The co-worker who never says hello. Every morning you walk in and say good morning to the same co-worker, and every morning they ignore you. It used to drive you crazy. You'd stew at your desk and question whether you did something wrong. Now, let them. Let them be awkward, rude, or introverted. Example 2. The group chat that's blowing up at 11 p.m. Your phone buzzes non-stop. People are sharing memes, gossip, and drama. Your sleep suffers. Your mind races. What if you just let them? Let them chat. Let them overshare. And you? Let yourself put the phone on. Do not disturb and protect your sleep. Example 3. The person who chews too loudly at dinner. Yes, it's annoying. But will confronting them make your dinner more enjoyable? Probably not. Let them chew. Let them eat how they eat. And maybe sit a little farther away next time. The truth is, when you adopt this mindset, you'll realize how many things used to ruin your day that no longer matter, and it feels incredibly freeing. You stop walking around emotionally bruised by life. You stop seeing every inconvenience as a personal attack. Mel also introduces a powerful mantra to use in these moments. This is not about me. That one sentence is a shield. When someone's rude, inconsiderate, or snappy, it's rarely about you. Maybe they're tired, maybe they're overwhelmed, maybe they're just not very self-aware. But you don't need to match their energy. You can observe without absorbing. And that's how you win. She also encourages us to use these moments as practice grounds for peace. Every time someone annoys you, think of it as emotional weightlifting. You're building the muscle of tolerance, of detachment, of self-mastery. You're choosing to live in a state of ease instead of chaos. One story Mel shares is about her husband Chris and how they've grown together using this mindset. Chris has a habit of leaving his coffee mug on the bathroom sink. Every morning it used to drive Mel nuts. She'd pick it up, roll her eyes, and feel like he was inconsiderate, until she flipped the script. Now she walks in, sees the mug, and thinks, let him have this small quirk. Let this be the thing I don't fight about today. And just like that, what was once a trigger becomes a tender little reminder. This is the person I chose, coffee mug and all. That's what happens when you stop needing everything to be perfect and start appreciating things as they are. Mel also challenges us to examine our identity around stress. Some people wear stress like a badge of honor. I'm just so busy. I've got so much going on. Everyone's annoying me today. But what if you made peace your identity instead? What if your energy became calm, grounded, and unfazed? Not because life is easy, but because you choose not to be reactive. That's what Let Them teaches you. You stop personalizing everything. You stop overreacting to minor things. You start living with a greater sense of calm. And as this chapter winds down, Mel gives us a final nudge. You don't need to react to everything you feel. Just because something annoys you doesn't mean you have to fix it. Just because someone acts out doesn't mean you have to correct them. You are allowed to let things slide, to laugh it off, to take a deep breath and move on. Because the truth is, life will always be full of little annoyances. But your inner world, that's yours to protect. Let them do what they do. And you? Let yourself breathe, detach, and focus on what actually matters. Chapter 4. Work stress. Let them hold you back. If you've ever felt like you're giving everything at work and still being overlooked, underappreciated, or even sabotaged, this chapter is going to hit home. Mel Robbins doesn't sugarcoat the truth. Workplace stress can feel all-consuming, but much of that stress doesn't actually come from the work itself. It comes from our emotional attachment to how others behave, how we're perceived, and how we think things should go. In Chapter 4, Mel makes a powerful point. You can't control how your boss leads, how your team works, or how others treat you. But you can control how you show up. The let them theory at work helps you stop wasting your energy on things you can't fix and start focusing on your own growth, boundaries, and goals. She starts with a scenario we've all been in. You've been busting your butt on a project. You've put in the hours, stayed late, gone above and beyond. The client is thrilled. The team is proud. And then your manager swoops in and takes the credit. Infuriating, right? Now here's what most of us would do. Vent to a friend, replay the situation in our head 50 times, fantasize about quitting dramatically or quietly stew in resentment for weeks. But what if, instead of spiraling, you paused and said, let them take the credit. Let them manage poorly. Let them show you who they are. And then, let me update my resume. Let me start networking. Let me ask for the promotion I've earned. Let me make a plan for something better. This is the essence of what Mel teaches here. Stop giving your workplace stress a starring role in your story. You don't have to tolerate being overlooked, but you also don't have to spend your emotional energy trying to make broken systems fair. You can disengage from the drama while still remaining highly intentional about your next move. She's clear. The people you work with might never change. The culture might stay toxic. Recognition might never come. But that doesn't mean you're stuck. You always have a choice. You can choose your next step. And it starts with these two mantras. Let them. Let me. Mel also dives deep into another kind of workplace stress. People pleasing. You say yes to everything you volunteer for extra tasks you cover for lazy co-workers. You rewrite emails 15 times to avoid sounding too direct. You basically run yourself into the ground hoping someone notices how hard you're working. And when they don't, you feel crushed, invisible, used. Mel's advice is direct. Stop managing everyone's emotions at work. Let them be disappointed when you say no. Let them think you're not a team player if you set a boundary. Let them roll their eyes when you leave on time. Because the truth is, respect doesn't come from over-functioning. It comes from being honest, consistent, and firm. And if you're constantly trying to earn your worth through work, you'll burn out fast. One of the most powerful examples in this chapter comes from a woman named Claire. She worked in marketing at a fast-paced agency and was known as the Yes Girl. Need a last-minute pitch deck? Claire's got it. Client having a Claire will handle it. Teams slacking on deadlines? Claire will work late. And while Claire was doing everything to hold the team together, she wasn't getting promoted. In fact, she was being overlooked again and again. She finally hit a breaking point. She read the let them theory, started applying the let them mindset, and things began to shift. When a co-worker dumped a task on her plate last minute, she replied with, "Unfortunately, I won't be able to take this on right now. Let's discuss a better system next week. Was it uncomfortable? Yes. Did people get annoyed? Probably. But did she feel like she was finally respecting herself? Absolutely. Within 6 months, Claire had documented her contributions, updated her resume, and interviewed with 3 companies who actually valued boundaries and clear communication. She landed a higher-paying job and the confidence that she never needed to be anyone's doormat again. Mel shares this story to emphasize that let them isn't passive, it's proactive. It's not about quitting in silence or giving up. It's about deciding what you will and will not tolerate, and then taking steps to move towards something better. She also addresses a common fear. What if letting go makes me look like I don't care? Mel's answer: let them think that. You can still care deeply about your work and also have boundaries. You can be ambitious and still say no. You can strive for excellence without sacrificing your peace. People who misinterpret your boundaries don't belong in your circle of influence, and that applies to the office just as much as it does in your personal life. Toward the end of the chapter, Mel walks us through a let them inventory for work. It's a powerful tool. You sit down and ask, what am I taking personally that isn't mine? Where am I over-functioning? Who do I keep trying to please instead of simply doing my job? What can I let them do, and what can I let me do to take back control? You might realize that you've been wasting hours stressing about someone else's laziness. Let them be lazy. You do your job well and leave it at that. You might realize you're holding resentment for a team that doesn't thank you. Let them forget. You start thanking yourself. You build your own recognition system. And then there's the final piece Mel teaches in this chapter. You don't need permission to move on. If your job is no longer aligned with your values, you don't have to wait for the final straw. You can let them keep doing business their way and let you go find a better fit. This chapter is a wake-up call. You don't owe your employer your mental health. You owe yourself the chance to grow, to rest, to shine, and sometimes that means moving on. Let them underappreciate you. Let them ignore your ideas. Let them keep the status quo. And you, let you rise anyway. Let you build something better. Let you stop shrinking just to survive. Because once you stop letting other people's behavior define your worth, you become unstoppable. Chapter 5. Let them think bad thoughts about you. Have you ever stayed up late obsessing about what someone might think of you? Replaying a conversation in your head? Rewriting a text 5 times? Wondering if someone's mad, judging you, or saying something behind your back? If so, this chapter will set you free. Mel Robbins opens chapter 5 with a reality check. People are going to think what they want about you, no matter what you do. You can be kind, respectful, responsible, and generous, and someone will still misunderstand you, still dislike you, still gossip about you. And once you realize that, you stop performing, you stop bending, you stop exhausting yourself for a version of approval that never actually arrives. The core message of this chapter: let them think what they want. It sounds simple, but if you've spent your life trying to be liked, it can feel terrifying, because most of us were raised to please, to be agreeable, to avoid conflict, to stay quiet. So, when someone thinks poorly of us, or worse, says it out loud, it triggers our deepest fears. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I'm doing life wrong. But Mel flips that fear on its head. She says, let them judge. Let them misunderstand. Let them gossip. Let them be wrong about you. Because here's the truth. Their thoughts do not change your reality. Your truth remains true even if I've been the one to gossip about you. One of the most honest examples Mel shares in this chapter is how she used to stress over what family members thought about her choices, her job, her parenting style, her decision to launch a podcast or self-publish a book. Every time she made a move, she wondered who would roll their eyes or whisper behind her back. And then one day, she decided she was done. Done shrinking to avoid judgment. Done explaining herself. Done editing her personality to keep the peace. That's when she adopted the mantra, let them think what they want. I've got a life to build. And that's the invitation for all of us. You don't need to justify your goals. You don't need to convince people to like you. You don't need to argue your worth. Let them think you're too ambitious, too loud, too quiet, too much, too weird, too whatever. Because their thoughts about you are none of your business. Mel dives deeper into how damaging it is to live in approval addiction. She explains how chasing validation keeps you from making bold moves. You won't speak up in meetings. You won't post that idea online. You won't say no when someone crosses a line. You won't ask for what you need in relationships. Why? Because you're afraid of how people might perceive you. But here's the breakthrough. You don't need universal approval to live an exceptional life. You just need self-respect. She offers an exercise you can try next time you catch yourself spiraling over someone else's opinion. 1. Ask yourself, do I respect the person who's judging me? 2. If yes, ask, is their feedback helpful, loving, or constructive? 3. If no, remind yourself, their opinion does not define my worth. This exercise is simple but effective. It teaches you to stop giving weight to every voice in the room. Not all criticism is created equal. Some people judge because they're insecure. Some gossip because they're bored. Some dislike you simply because you remind them of something they haven't healed. Let them. Mel also talks about online judgment. something that's exploded in our digital age. You post a photo, someone makes a passive-aggressive comment, you share your story, someone questions your facts, you set a boundary, someone calls you selfish. The moment you put